From Nepal to North London, from Delhi to Dagenham, from the terraces to the armchair, it's an Arsenal Thing podcast. Football's in our DNA.
Hello and welcome to the Gun Room, and I'm with Jay. How you doing, Jay?
I'm all right, thanks, Tom. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad at all. I've got a bit of a spring in my step after last night. I did at the weekend have a bit of a, what should we say, a bit of a stumble.
Yeah. I know.
Things look a bit better now.
Yeah.
Shall we crack on? We've got loads to talk about.
Let's do it.
Shall we start first with the transfer system? Not doing anything at the moment, so we know of. But Odegaard, what do you make of that signing?
Yeah, I like it. He's obviously we saw a bit of him last season, but he showed enough, I think, to show that just the amount of quality and what he can bring to the team. And it's easy to forget that he's still only 22. You know, he's vastly experienced for such a young man. He's the captain of Norway, and I mean, the West Brom game showed, and he didn't have an outstanding game, but he showed flashes of just classy passages of play, and he's just on the ball. He looks so assured, doesn't he?
It was quite evident that we were actually starting to play through the middle again, because over the last games, it's all been out wide. And there's Odegaard connecting up, which I liked. And as you say, it wasn't top of the range performance, but there was enough there, especially with the Xhaka goal, the little flick backwards.
That's lovely.
That was Arsenal.
Just delightful. And there was another good what I enjoyed as well. Literally, I think it was the first minute or two of the game. Odegaard got absolutely clattered by one of their midfielders, and it was one of those, you know, welcome back to the English game, and he dusted himself off, and he didn't let it affect him. Okay, West Brom weren't great, but you know, it's those games, isn't it? You know, away from home in places like West Brom, playing against teams like that, where players like Odegaard. I suppose the comparison will be Mesut Ozil, where Mesut, more often than not, he didn't really fancy it in those kind of games, did he? Yeah, he was too slight, too weak, really. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I think I've said to you before, I wanted this signing more than some of the other names that were being bandied around because of his experience, B, because of what we had seen, and C, he's young enough to really improve, you know. So yeah, very pleased.
I just got a text from Dave. Sorry, Dave, you are on the screen. He's on the Zoom link, but obviously he doesn't say anything, so I don't really know why he's there. But normally he's with me. But that's the way it works. It's the part of the podcast charm. I was a bit surprised that so many fans, we're going to talk about fans have really got up my nostrils this week because of their inconsistencies, their whinging. Some were really underwhelmed by the Odegaard signature. And I thought that was really short-sighted because if I've had anything to sort of moan about between myself, yourself and Isaiah, I've said, when it gets down to the physical side of it, has he got the stomach for it? And as you said, when he got knocked up in the air, and that was some clattering he took.
Yeah.
He got back up, and there was no problem. I think as he gets older, he'll have to develop that side of his game and do all the dirty stuff that the likes of Dennis Bergkamp did. But I, like you, I was really pleased and surprised. I didn't think we'd get him.
No. I mean, if you look at, we sold Willock for, I mean, I think the numbers were it was as high, maybe as high as 25 million with add-ons. And the Odegaard transfer potentially is 30 to 35 million with add-ons. We've got him for very little. And we've got, I believe, a better player who is a very similar age to Joe. And this is no disrespect to Willock, but I think we've got a better player. I mean, I don't know. You've obviously picked up on it. There's like Arsenal are they're an easy target for the media at the moment. You know, yeah, results aren't going well, but you know, everybody, all the major media outlets seem to be bashing Arsenal at the minute. And transfers and the quality of player that are coming in, or the age of the player, or the amount we're paying for the player. It's just another, all these reasons are being used to bash the club. You know, the fan base, I read the similar things to you. But it's not just, everybody needs to remember, it's not just Arsenal that has idiots and brain dead morons supporting them. All clubs do. You know, it was only, I don't know, a few weeks ago that 15,000 stormed Wembley at the Euro 2020 final. You know, they weren't all Arsenal fans. They were just idiots, you know. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, social media.
I can see the big plan, can't you? I mean, you get these players in young, and the players that they have signed this year, I've been really happy with, to be honest. Tavares or Tavares, however you want to say it, I think he's got real potential, and we saw that in the West Bromwich Albion game. And I think, unfortunately, if Kieran Tierney is injured, we've got a good replacement there, a good solid, not just someone you just. I know you play in the middle. Can you go on the left, or we get it on the right, don't we, as well, where they have to chop and change. I feel really confident we've got someone like that. Lokonga, he looks like he could be a real asset in the future. Yeah. And then you brought in Odegaard. I mean, I don't know what people want. I don't know what they expect.
No, but fans, they get, what's the best way to say it? They get, without sounding too dramatic, or they get slightly brainwashed by the media's influence, right? So if Roy Keane turns around and goes, it's all good and well, Arsenal signing these youngsters, they need players now. Well, yeah, okay. But that's a very easy assumption to make. That's a very, we've lost 2 games this season. It's very easy to turn around and say we need these players. The process, in inverted commas, or the plan is very, very clear to anybody that has got anything about them, any Arsenal supporter that's got anything about them. It is that Mikel has obviously had the conversation with Edu. They've come up with this plan or process, whatever you want to call it, to plan for the future, and the signings that are being made. Like, it's going to take time, it's this season. I know nobody wants to hear it, but this season is you're probably going to have to write it off again, and probably much of next season, until these very young players have settled in properly, got used to the pace of the game, and start to really progress and improve alongside your Thomas Partey's, your Martin Odegaard's, and your Ben White's, those types of players. It's going to take time, and we all wanted something different in this Arsenal team, right? From last season and the season before, at Emery and the back end of Wenger's reign. And this is something different, and it is going to take time. Now, I'm not saying Arteta, it's hard because we've spoke before, haven't we, how long you leave it. But I do believe that if there is there are visible signs of improvement in certain areas of the squad, and this is definitely an improvement with the age range of player that we're signing. Arteta will definitely be given the time. So I think the supporters have just got to get used to it.
The funny thing is, Roy Keane is banging on about, looking at the here and the now. But Manchester United, they've had to rebuild on occasion. I mean, Ferguson's had to rebuild about 4 times and employ youth, and it didn't all go according to plan. Matt Busby, further back, had to start from scratch. So I think it's just the words come out of his mouth. I think, the bow and the throat sometimes get confused, and that's what's happening. Let's move on to Aaron Ramsdale, because, or apparently he's actually called Dale Ramsdale, but he changed his name to Aaron. I only just found out that while we were researching and stuff. So he's an Arsenal boy. He supported them as a lad, and he's come across. He's in the England setup, and I thought, we're looking to the future again. What is he? 23, something like that. Yeah. So he comes in. I've got a fancy that Leno's going to go next year. Yeah. In the summer. So I thought it was a good purchase. What about you?
100%. It makes perfect sense. It's a sensible signing. I think there's another way you can look at it. If you go and sign Aaron Ramsdale for say 10 million, he doesn't get the abuse. He doesn't get the comments from people. It's just the amount of money. And it's not his own fault. It's just, again, it's another example of just supporters just believing your Sky Sports, everything that's said on, say, Sky Sports or Talk Sport or whatever. David Seaman was a relatively unknown goalkeeper, and he came to us, and look what he became. And if Ramsdale goes on to have sort of half the career Seaman had, then we're onto a winner. It makes perfect sense. Ultimately, it's not a fashionable signing as well, is it?
As Isaiah says, it's English tax as well. You've got to take that into account. Even Wenger said it many years ago. You want an English player, you can stick another 15 million on there easily. Yeah.
But if you went, it's funny because if you go to, let's say, Keylor Navas, Real Madrid goalkeeper, was available. He's coming towards the end of his, well, not coming towards, he's in his twilight of his career, and you went and signed him for 15 million, probably very even. There's not much difference between the two goalkeepers, all because Navas has had the career and he comes from a Real Madrid. It's so fickle, the people, supporters' perception of what is a good sign and what isn't. Yeah, Ramsdale has come from Sheffield United and he came from Bournemouth, 2 teams that ended up getting relegated. Okay. And he was the goalkeeper. Doesn't sound good. However, he still ended up in the England squad, and he's still highly rated in the game. And it's just the abuse was just ridiculous. It was just stupid. It's just stupid.
Let's touch on that abuse. I mean, the levels were unprecedented. He had to shut down his social media because of it. And I just didn't understand it. From a couple of points, homegrown player. Yeah. We're going to need more homegrown players. I didn't think the price was unreasonable. Not for a goalkeeper these days. No. And we've got the problem with Leno. The funny thing was that when Ramsdale was playing in that game against West Bromwich Albion, he looked more comfortable playing out from the back as well.
He did, yeah. And you hope he's the type of character that uses those comments that were massively blown out of proportion as well by the media. It was covered by the radio, newspapers and things. All players get, or Premier League players, I'm sure the majority of them get abuse, but you never hear about it. It's just because it was Arsenal, just because it was Aaron Ramsdale, blown out of all proportion, and you live in hope that he uses that. And I mean, if you're going to go by the evidence from the West Brom game, it motivated him, and he wants to show these people that he's a lot better than they gave him credit for.
Well, I went on Facebook and I actually parked a comment and said some Arsenal fans are a total disgrace, pitiful at best. Fergus from Guns and Yellow Ribbons came on and said, I can't say either signing excites me, but for FUF's sake, attacking them on social media. But he said it's a problem of the modern fan, really. You know, they just want to shock and clickbait, and they follow players rather than teams. And I think that's a fair summation, really.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question. What transfer would excite you that we could realistically make?
There isn't one really.
That's what I'm saying.
We're not in that sort of money pit.
No, so the signing in a dream world for me would be Erling Haaland. We're not going to go. He's not going to come to us. You know, we can't offer him Champions League football. We can't offer him European football. We're not going for the league title. We're very much in the infancy of a rebuild. We need to be realistic here. What signing at the level that we're at would generate that level of excitement?
But I think the Arteta and Edu have actually thought about that, and the plan that they've got is the one they can afford. But there's potential, like when Wenger first came, to make the players better. Yeah,
exactly, and that's the plan. That's what we're going for, and ultimately signing Odegaard as well in the position that we're in is a real coup. I think it really is. He could have gone to, you know, you look at some of the teams in Europe that are crying out for a creative midfielder. You know, I think it's a great signing, and I think and the Ramsdale signing as well. So, two pieces of really good business from Edu.
The other thing was, has got a couple of things here. Arteta's car was surrounded by angry fans as he left the ground. Saka and Tierney were both criticised as well for the loss on Sunday. How quickly they turned, how fickle are the fans. Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, I know. I did see the video of those supporters. I mean, God, you know, I think we were talking, weren't we? And I said to you, you wouldn't blame Arteta if he fired back out the window. You know, the frustration, just brain dead. You struggle to work out other than just to get those likes, just to get a name, to make a name for themselves.
While we're on the subject of all the unnecessary behaviour, William Saliba and Matteo Guendouzi featured in Marseille's away win at Nice. And then the contest kind of fell apart. A player got hit on the head by a missile thrown from the crowd. And then it all kind of kicked off. And there's pictures of Guendouzi with like strangulation marks around his neck. When is he going to stop? We've had Grealish. He was attacked from behind. We're going to get to the stage where we're going to have to fence the fans in again because they're acting like animals. It really worries me. Someone's going to get really seriously hurt.
That was insane, wasn't it? That video. I think, wasn't it Dimitri Payet, the former West Ham player? Yeah. I think he threw a water bottle back into the crowd, but I think he got hit with the bottle first, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And then I mean, the stewards they quickly lost control. Yeah, it is worrying. It's worrying, especially
so quickly. A couple of bits here from Twitter. A guy called Philippe Philop. I'm not sure. That's a bit of a gag, isn't it? I'm not sure that's his real name. As much as Ramsdale isn't my dream signing, only 23 and already a Premier League with Premier League experience, he has huge potential. Hope the lad smashes it and becomes a club legend. Ian put, will Sky ever shut up about Martinez signing for Villa? He's probably had 2.5 seasons in about 9 years. And the fans are giving Ramsdale stick. I mean, I couldn't agree any more, really. I mean, you know, the build-up, it's just like a big potpourri of nonsense and bullshit.
Yeah. We're the target, aren't we, at the minute? It's just, like I said earlier, it's just with so many different reasons to just bash the club. I mean, and Martinez as well. He I mean, he can't wait to get in front of the cameras and talk about it himself, can he? You know, he's constantly talking about how roughly he was treated. Like, he's just get over it, mate. You know, get over it, man.
He's doing all right now. He's got the jag in the drive and the free lifestyle. What's his problem?
I know.
Out crying into his own swimming pool,
like,
filling it up.
Just that jealous ex-girlfriend. Cute.
On the subject of Emi Martinez, playing devil's advocate, the post-match conversation was about Newcastle having a penalty decision chalked off at 2-0 down. Martinez fouled Callum Wilson. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
American football, wasn't that?
Yeah, should have been given. Well, apparently the VAR, aren't they supposed to be moving away from those kind of decisions? You know, those... it was a clear penalty, wasn't it? You know?
Without doubt.
And, you know...
Red card off ski, I thought.
I think it was as blatant as the foul on Saka against Chelsea. You know, that was a penalty. You know, but
Richard Keys had a really interesting sort of comment. I knew it wouldn't last. What a joke at Villa. Newcastle definitely should have had a pen against them after the assault by Martinez on Wilson. An assault. That's what he's put in there. Yeah. He didn't pull his punches. Did you see Jurgen Klopp on Facebook during the week? He was on about the Leno, the Brentford's second goal, and he was on about Leno being held, and it was quite an interesting conversation because Klopp's one of these guys. He's an out-and-out football head, isn't he? Really doesn't need to get involved, but he asked the press at his own conference what they thought about it, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah, he's another one that finds it difficult to hide his disgust for the media. You know, he doesn't like talking to reporters, does he? And he's I've always liked Klopp. He's a captivating kind of guy, isn't he? You know, he's but that was an interesting piece. But it's Arsenal, though, isn't it? Always happens to us.
When I got questioned on these transfers, I think the question came up: are you happy? And with the transfer business that we've done, and there was a lot of negative stuff. And I said, I think so. Odegaard alone should have cost between 40 and 45 million. We've paid over the odds for White, but you kind of expect that. But Ramsdale could actually be a snip. Lokonga and Tavares will bring in top dollar at some stage if we have to sell them. You know, you're kind of spending minimal. And as I say, it goes back to the Wenger era, really, where we kind of went round and found these players. Thierry Henry, 11.5 million. Yeah. What did we sell him for?
Yeah.
It was ransom, wasn't it?
I think it was just, I think it's have we done enough? Have we addressed enough of the problems? But the West Brom game, if you don't mind just touching on that for a second, I just saw.
Let's go.
And I'm hoping it's not just last night, and it's not just down to the opposition, but Aubameyang seemed to have a spring in his step. He seemed to be a lot sharper. His movement was fantastic. He was getting into great positions. Obviously, his third goal was vintage, but more than anything else, he seemed to be enjoying his football. And it was the kind of performance that I wasn't sure, and I suppose this shows how short-sighted I am. I didn't think he had it in him or wanted to do that again for Arsenal. I don't know whether, and it was encouraging. It was encouraging to see Pepe, who I thought didn't have a great first half. His head didn't drop, and he kept going, and he played himself into the game. And Pepe, years gone by, he didn't always do that. You know, Lacazette came on, looked sharp, scored, and the players look like they've got the bigger players for us who didn't have a great season last year, and a lot of us had written off. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peak Aubameyang this season? You know, what a difference he would make to us. You know,
what was interesting about him last night was when he was playing. Apart from the third goal that he just drilled in, he was playing in the middle more.
Yeah,
you know, he was finding these gaps and stuff. And I thought that wasn't in his game. I thought he was just hanging out on the left, and that's why he wasn't getting the goals, because his movement wasn't good, the supply wasn't good. But as you say, against West Brom, the movement was excellent. You know, he's in the right place, ready to pounce if there was anything spilt.
Yeah, and he was dropping a bit deeper, and his quality on the ball was very good. And he was zipping around, buzzing around to a level that we didn't really see last season. And that was really encouraging for me. I thought...
who was your man of the match, by the way?
I thought Xhaka was fantastic. I thought the way he...
man of the match, yeah.
Yeah, first half especially. And they were trying to kick him, weren't they? they were trying to take it. And as well, he seems to have... I mean, I don't know if it's just my perception of him, but he seems to have grown more. You know, he's actually like gained height and he's filled out a bit more. And he looks very good. He's off the ball. He was fantastic. Dribbling was superb. I thought, who else? I thought
he was too hard to cope with, wasn't he? He was too hot to handle. He was jigging. Any little deflection came his way, he was off again.
Yeah, I thought Ramsdale did pretty well. Made some good, solid saves. Wasn't really tested too often, but he made a good save in the first half where their lad put it onto his left foot and like tried to curl it into the right-hand corner, and Ramsdale pushed it wide. He did well for his first game of the season. But it was a good performance, and it reminded me a bit of when you'd play in a pre-season and you'd play some really tough games. Really test yourself, get your fitness up, and then your final pre-season game would be against a non-league side or a League Two side, and you'd put 4 or 5 past them to get your confidence up just going into the new season. It felt a bit like that, like we needed that type of game, that type of performance, and against a pretty weak opposition, just to get the good feeling back. And get. I'm
just going to throw it out there then. So. Played our first 2 games, got defeated, and looked shocking, terrible, average, ordinary.
Yeah,
I know the opposition wasn't 1,000,000%, but the actual commitment, the passion, and the delivery was so far up there you couldn't recognise them from the first 2 games. What's that down to?
Well, when you get your best players back, you normally get better performances, right? And Aubameyang, okay, he didn't have a great season, but he's still one of our best players. And I think it's down to that. You're getting your best players back. I think against Chelsea, I think when Aubameyang came on, I don't know if you saw it as well. He looked like he looked quite sharp then as well, you know, when he came on. So I mean, I don't know. What did you think? What do you think was the difference? You know,
I just thought the hunger and the appetite was there. Yeah, Aubameyang was back, but I didn't know how that would go because you know, there's certain games where it's just disappeared.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the general enthusiasm, getting Odegaard to play through the middle. As you say, it wasn't a stellar game for Odegaard, but he did enough. And as the debut goes, I know it's the second coming type of thing, but he did enough to actually open up the channels and through the middle.
Yeah, and he's got that creative edge about him, you know. And I think obviously they were making a big deal about it on Sky that West Brom played with a high line and it plays into Aubameyang's hands, but Odegaard's good enough to unlock defenses that play deeper, and
so even when we win, they find an excuse of how we won it.
Of course. I mean, you could almost sense the disappointment that we were winning at half time it was Kevin Phillips and Kevin Campbell on Sky, wasn't it? God, you could almost sense how disappointed they were we were winning. But it was a good game, very enjoyable. And yeah, we've got Man City. The last thing I'll say on the game, there was a great tweet from Luke Jobson on Twitter, and he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, everybody keeps harping on about the difference in cost between West Brom and Arsenal, and that's the reason why Arsenal won. If Arsenal lose on Saturday, will that be used in the same way? Which I thought, what a great tweet. What a great point, because the difference will be equally as big as they were last night. So, yeah, what do you think? Do you think it'll be used, Ado?
Yeah, I mean, if Arsenal won 2-0 against Man City, there'd be something said of a negative nature. There's no getting away from it at the moment. We're easy fodder at the SEC. Getting onto that, let's go on to Squawk Sport, as I like to call them. Jamie O'Hara, that wretched ex-Tottenham individual. He was on there, and he's saying Arsenal right now, they are banter FC. Odegaard, Ramsdale, Ben White, Lokonga and Tavares, they've spent 135 million on a B team. Is their team any better than last season? Over to you for that.
Well, it's another example, isn't it, of what I was saying earlier about how supporters, everyday, regular, normal, whatever you want to call supporters, people that follow football, they believe what these idiots say. I mean, first and foremost, when did Jamie O'Hara become relevant? Like this guy was bang average.
Born irrelevant.
he was bang average at Spurs. He was crap at Wolves. He's a rubbish football manager. And I don't know if you've ever. I mean, I don't know if you've ever listened to the Breakfast Show when he's on with Alan Brazil on Talk Sport, but he gets the mick taken out of him. He's a bit thick, he's and he's clearly trying to emulate Adrian Durham. He's trying to be that whole, jump on the Arsenal bandwagon. I mean, he says he's Spurs, but he hardly had a career there. He's a joke.
On the podcast a bit later on, what I'm going to do is play that. Did you ever see, I think her name's Laura Woods with Jamie O'Hara? She's a gooner, by the way, Laura Woods. Sky and on Talk Sport as well. And she ripped him a new one. We're going to play that. Don't disappear anywhere. It's worth listening to. Amongst the other criticisms, you got Micah Richards, saying that Arsenal can't attract any top players. Because they want to go to better performing teams. And sadly, Ian Wright said they look frightened, but it's true, frightened and lack cohesion. And he wondered what the tactics were against Chelsea in particular.
Chelsea, it did. The first 15 minutes, I thought we did okay, but we were opened up far too easy, and. I mean, I tweeted before the game, Lukaku against Mari has got Drogba against Senderos vibes, and I mean, we've spoke about Mari before, haven't we? And he's the perfect defender for Lukaku to play against.
He's a tanned Rob Holding.
Yeah, but it's like the first goal, Lukaku's goal, he throws himself on the floor trying to win a free kick. This is your centre half. These are supposed to be your big guys. These are supposed to be the guys that win headers at corners, and when they're going for these headers, they take out their own players. These are supposed to be the big stinking guys in the changing room, and Mari just folded up like a deck chair when Lukaku went, and it wasn't a great performance.
It looked like a grown man getting involved with a teenager on a football field, and your money was on Lukaku. I actually liked the way that, to a degree, we contained Chelsea. I think it was a bit more luck than judgment. But after we went in 2-0 down, we managed to get our act together a little bit, so it wasn't a cricket score. But Lukaku is going to score tons of goals just
Yeah,
because of his
a
physicality and his strength.
He's a formidable opponent, and Leno made a good, great save from his header in the second half. But I'm not sure whether it was Chelsea managing the game out or us playing any better, because I mean we didn't even threaten. I think Rob Holding he maybe should have done better with a header in the second half. Yeah, and we should have had a penalty. But in reality, me and you both know, and most right-minded Arsenal supporters know, we were never in the game, were we? We never had a chance.
Puffed and puffed, but that was it. I mean, there was no one to. And another thing that's kind of a bit of a concern is we're talking about players. Martinelli, he's had a couple of bites of the cherry now, and I'm not having a go at Martinelli. I really like him as a player, but a bit wishy-washy,
I felt a bit for him against Chelsea. He was trying, he was pressing his best, but it was a weak Arsenal team, and it was a team missing their best players. And we asked Martinelli to play up front on his own against the European champions. I still think ultimately Martinelli's place in the squad is an impact sub at the moment. He's not, for me, he's somebody, a really good option and a really dangerous option from the bench. But as far as a starter goes, I did feel for him. Again, I know we touched on a few pods ago, Granit Xhaka, and how in the Euros he was, many an Arsenal fan were waxing lyrical about how good he was. Again, another big game and another big just goes missing. That's the Granit Xhaka that we know, isn't it? And he's playing behind Martinelli. And it was another big game where we didn't see anything from Xhaka. And the more this season goes on, the more I think me personally will regret not letting him go and taking the money, because I can
only assume that they give him a little bit of an extension just to bulk up the price when they actually get rid of him in the summer. These are the long-term kind of goals I think that Eddie's putting in place, because he could sell him on the fairly cheap, and that was obvious with Roma. They came in and didn't offer the money. So if he's got another year on his contract, maybe it will bring the big bucks in. I'm just going to close off with this criticism thing about Manny Petit, which was disappointing. He said, little by little, I'm losing interest in Arsenal. With this way of playing, it doesn't generate any emotion to see their games anymore. I can understand the players coming out, the Ray Parlors and all the rest of it. Not that I've not heard anything from Ray Parlour. But, Petit was a legend for me. I thought he was an exceptional player, but he's not really helping, is he? This is not Arsene Wenger's Invincibles. This is not the team that he was in. And if he doesn't understand that there's a rebuild going on, there's something wrong with him.
Yeah. It's like you just said, it's not helpful. You live and hope that if we do start to play well, that he'll start commenting to an equal degree in a positive way. The difference, I think, is the difference in class. You've got Sol Campbell who offered himself to go and help the defence out, go down to Arsenal and help train the players and help to improve the defence. He chooses Petit chooses to go a different way and criticises the team. And I'm same as you. I really rated Petit, liked him back in the day, but just like everybody else, it's more and more these celebrities or ex-footballers or whatever, they're trying to make a name for themselves, aren't they? They're trying to even bigger name for themselves, rather. And it's not helpful, but to be honest.
Do you know what I put in one of the blogs? I was talking about Lukaku. It's like a mobile fridge, isn't he?
Yeah,
I thought, what an interesting matchup. Him now and Sol Campbell in his heyday. That would have been 12 rounds of that, please.
Yeah.
Big Sol.
Ooh. Yeah. And I mean, Chelsea can go and sign Lukaku. It's not an equal playing field, is it? And we are where we are now, it is partly down to ourselves. You know, it is down to mistakes that have been made and contracts that have been offered to players and botched transfers and whatever. But they have an owner like Abramovich that is limitless spending, you know, and we just can't live with that. And we have to make
the sugar of football, isn't he? You're fired. You're fired. You're hired. He just goes around spending, and I don't know what the figures are, but he spent an absolute fortune.
Yeah.
You know, there's been some dodgy deals done somewhere.
Yeah, some brown paper bag.
Changing the subject slightly. Well, let's just rattle off. What was your overall, out of 10, what would you give Arsenal for the Chelsea game?
It wasn't very good. I would give us 5.
Cool, you're generous.
A generous 5.
About 3 or 4. And that was for just coming on, making up the numbers.
Yeah, generous 5.
To wrap up what we've been talking about, Arsene Wenger, did you see him at Liverpool? Nice to see 2 meetings of football minds. Jurgen Klopp, Arsene Wenger together to present Jurgen Klopp, Alisson and Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Thiago with trophies for the Best FIFA Men's Award 2020. I'd love to have been there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Drop on a few conversations.
Yeah, it was good to see Arsene looking so well. He's made for that kind of job, isn't he? You know, representing FIFA and trying to improve the game from a technical side. What a great guy. There's not much more. We've spoke about Arsene, haven't we? Such a great manager, and I suppose it was a shame that Klopp didn't come to Arsenal right before he went to Liverpool. Because there was that rumour, wasn't there, or there was strong links between the two when Klopp was at Dortmund that may have happened, but obviously it didn't. So yeah, very sad.
Well, Jay, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks ever so much once again, and thanks, Dave, for your input. You've been absolutely crucial to this podcast. It's been sensational having you on.
Fantastic.
No doubt. When I start recording again, it'll be there, pumping out the teas and the coffees. He couldn't be here this evening, so we're light on one front. Let's just, before we go, let's just ask you about the City result. Are you gonna go for a positive result, or where are you gonna go?
Oh, we never do well against them, do we? I don't think we're going to win, and I just think they are so far ahead of us in every department. I'd love to say we could get a draw or sneak a win, but I can't see us. I just hope we don't get absolutely destroyed. So I think City will win 2-0. Unfortunately. How about yourself?
Well, it's one of those, isn't it? You've got to be realistic as well. You don't want Arsenal to lose to Man City, but the odds are slightly stacked against us. I'm just gonna push my luck here. I'm just gonna push my luck because I feel like it's a script. We're seeing and who is it? Is it Amazon Prime are doing this documentary? What sensate? A really bad start, really poor. We do the Carabao Cup. And then we face Man City, the mighty Man City.
Yeah.
1-0 Arsenal.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to push it. I'm going to push my luck.
I'll take that, Tom. Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, Jay. Thanks a lot, mate.
Okay,
I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Cheers.
See you soon.